So this kit right here is an absolute middle finger by Bandai, and it's not just a regular old middle finger. They like ran that finger through their crack before sticking it in your face. It's a stinky middle finger, and you might be like, why? It's just an SD cross silhouette Gundam Calibarn from the Witch from Mercury, and not just that, it also has the standard SD frame to be small and a CS frame to be a little bit bigger. What could the issue be? Well, the issue is that right there and that right there. This kit can be built either as the gone absolutely cracked out rainbow version that we see later on, but not just that, the red version we see drop in like Unicorn Gundam, which means this kit does have the stickers to do both versions, which, if you remember correctly, the high grade did not. They basically left the red ones off, which probably, you know, in a way would be what a lot of people want, because it's what you see first on that particular Gundam, but yeah, they made it a P Bandai only kit just for some stickers, but they didn't do it in this one. That's not cool. But yeah, either way, this video right here wouldn't have been possible without those awesome people at Hobby Link Japan, so if you do want one of your own, link is down there in the description. So another day and another kit off that backlog. Today I'm going to be taking a look at the SD Cross Silhouette Gundam Calibarn, and like I already mentioned, this does seem to have the stickers to make it in either red or permit score 6. So overall, or is it permit score 8? I've already kind of forgotten again. But yeah, so it seems like there's a lot of options in here. Pick your frame, pick your color. So yeah, this is going to be interesting enough. And of course, the best thing about these kits is the ability to steal their heads for on your high grades to make some weird combos. Anyway, inside here we got 1, 2, 3 bags of plastic, which is actually quite a bit for an SD. That's like something you would see in a high grade kit. Builders World Cup. And there is the instructions, so just a fold out little pamphlet, so it shouldn't be too difficult. So as far as stickers go inside this box, it really isn't all that bad, considering what we've seen from some SDs in the past, especially from some of the Build Fighters and Build Divers kits. So yeah, in here you've got the choice between the red sections or the kind of pearl rainbow, but there is nothing for, say, the black off mode, so it's permit on or permit extreme. So yeah, and here we've got a choice between the two frames. That's the smaller, more traditional SD size frame or the kind of larger style one right here. I tend to prefer this one, and I'm going to be building this kit the way I'm going to pop it up on the shelf, and that is going to be with this one. So the little one will not be being used. So when it does come to the build, when it comes to gunpla, there really isn't anything out there that is much simpler than SD kits. Now, we'll mention for this, I did use a nipper to nip it out, but you don't even need a nipper for these kits. These are all ages kits, so you can build them without any tools at all. You can just pull the pieces right off the runners and you're good to go. So if you're ever looking for something that is a bit of an entry drug into the hobby, this works. Or if you want to get something for maybe kids or something like that to build along while you're building stuff, these are always the greatest ones to get. In the end, you do get quite a nice looking kit too, depending on the one. This one right here doesn't have as much stickers as some of the kits we would have seen before, but there are some stickers in it that can be a little bit on the awkward side, but they don't dominate the kit, which is something quite good. We've got some in the upper legs, they attach on easily, some on the chest, once again, easy, some up on the head as well, and one of the most unique aspects is we do have some of those cool stickers that are kind of printed on the underside. On the sheet, they look black, but when you do peel them off, the shell unit aspects are on the inside, like these ones for up on the shoulders, and also for that kind of pearl rainbow one for up on the V-fin if you are building this as the permit score 8 version. I'm going with the red permit score 5. Moving on through the build, everything is simple, but at the same time nice in the kind of cross-silhouette SD sort of way. These aren't your standard SDs, so there is a lot to them. You can build them really, really small or the more medium kind of size, and that is what I went for. So there is more aspects to the legs. I will mention that there is no SD frame, or should I say cross-silhouette frame inside of the legs. It's just all from this kit. Inside the torso, we do have some of the cross silhouette frame. The parts build up on top of that. We do have a sticker and then a clear part that goes over it for that nice shell unit in the chest, which actually turns out incredibly, incredibly nicely. Everything then just builds up simply. It's usually 2 parts to each element, like the shoulder or the arm or the forearm. And finally then, when you get up to the head, there is quite a bit to this. There are stickers for the eyes that can be a little bit on the awkward side. I find for the ones that attach onto the serious business Gundam eyes side, it's best to stick the stickers on and then let the mask section actually push them into position. On the other side then you've got those cute SD eyes, but I will mention this kit doesn't have that usual thing where you can actually just pull the eyes out from below the head and flip them around to change the eyes. You're kind of deciding which eyes that you're going to use on this kit while building it, and you're kind of locked in then with, well, you'd have to disassemble it to get into them. But overall, easy build, quick build, and it's not a sticker hell, which is nice. So now jumping right on into the aesthetics, and there is the SD Gundam Calibarn in all of its glory, or should I say the SD Cross Silhouette Gundam Calibarn in all of its glory. Again, an SD is usually what an SD is. They've got their pros, they've got their cons, and the pros definitely would be the cute aspect about them. When it comes to the overview of this kit, it definitely is the Gundam Calibarn through and through. They've done the most important aspects the right way. The clear parts look great. The shell units look fantastic, even though they are stickers, which I guess, well, across the high grade line they usually are, they do work out quite well. I haven't done anything to it, so there's no pan lining, no nothing, there isn't even any cleanup, and it is very, very nice, in an SD kind of way. And speaking of typical SD things, of course the usual aspects are there. By the way, this has such beautiful angles that it catches the light so nicely, even when it doesn't have any pan lining or anything like that. Just all the little different facets of the surface of this just looks so good. But yeah, we do have some things like the seam lines that run right down the length of the legs there. Also, these legs do not rotate at all in the body. It's so strange. They just kick forward and they kick back a little bit, but there's no rotation, which makes it so awkward. It's really strange. But yeah, overall, visually, it is a very nice kit. Again, if you do want to change the eyes to those more softer, cartoony eyes, you do have to disassemble the entire head, which is a little strange for an SD kit. But anyway, let's get it spinning. There's that full 360 spin of the SD Cross Silhouette Calibarn, and what can I say, it is an extremely nice kit. Most of this I nipped out, some of it I did actually just pull off the runners for the sake of it, and there are nubs here and there, but they're not that prevalent really. They're not that obvious to see, especially from any kind of distance. Overall, I'm very impressed. Usually when it comes to an SD kit, I'm holding my tongue a little bit on some of the finicky little things that I don't find that awesome. Usually an over-reliance on stickers or kind of things like that, but this overall, it works out so well. It looks great. This is the Calibarn through and through, and in a nice SD mascot sort of way. This would look great on any desk, computer desk, work desk, shelf, or anywhere really. It's cute and it works out so well. If you're curious about the size, there it is side by side with the high-grade Gundam Calibarn and the size of a master-grade SD. So as you can see, master-grade SDs are huge compared to this, and a standard size SD would probably be about yay taller. So I don't have one handy, but as you can see, it's quite a small little kit. Almost half the size of a high-grade. And also there is another little bit of a more traditional kind of size comparison between a high-grade Gundam Oryx 78-2 and a master-grade Gundam Oryx 78-2. So jumping now into the accessories, and here's absolutely everything that comes with the SD Gundam Calibarn, and that is the variable rod rifle, the escutcheon in that Calibarn white, and we do have some hands in here. That is a pair of fists and a pair of widespread open hands, so it's got the high grades beaten on that aspect anyway when it comes to the hands. So first up in here we've got the hands. These widespread ones I've had unattached the whole time. We do have a little bit of a kind of simple palm on these, which is a little bit on the hollow side, but that does look like a 3mm peg in there. When it comes to the fists, they look like that. There's a little bit of a seam down the back. Is that on the... No, that's not on the widespreads. That's only on these, probably the way they're orientated on the runner. That's why the hollow section on this is actually on the bottom as opposed to on the underside like we would have seen with the other ones. These attach on via ball joints the usual kind of way, so super simple. There's a widespread. And that is what they look like. This does actually look quite good. You don't really see it from this perspective too often, so it's not the biggest downgrade. Downgrade from what? I have no idea what I'm trying to say. It's not the biggest issue. Anyway, next up in here we've got the broom itself. This is the variable rod rifle. It doesn't do as much as the high grade as you would expect. We've got a handle up top which is fixed in white. We've got one in gray which can move like so on the side. Around the back, these can open up like we would have seen before. These are just on ball joints this time around. There is no stickers for on the little segment, so I'm guessing this is designed to be viewed from the front perspective just like this. And unlike the high grade, we don't actually have something to attach this onto the rear of the calibarn. This is just a weapon that gets held in the hand just like so. So it just pops on like that very, very simply. You can also get this lined up with this handle right here if you want to do a bit of a two-handed pose. But we're going to jump right on into getting the escutcheon attached. So attaching the escutcheon on as, well, a standard shield, which is something that the Calibarn didn't actually do in the anime, just involves popping on a fist and then sliding the handle into the hand like so. Now there's an interesting aspect to this. There's a locking mechanism here, which I did not expect, which is very, very nice. So if this is pushed in all the way, it locks, because if you remove it, you can see that the upper section of this handle actually has a square segment. So when it is inserted but not all the way, you can move it whichever way you want. But once you click it in the rest of the way, it's going to attach in rock solid in the hand, so it won't actually teeter around the place. That's a simple but effective locking mechanism. I also noticed there is a 3mm hole on the side of the arm, and I was wondering if you kind of use this little bit of a peg with that in any kind of way to use the shield on the arm without having to, well, attach it into a hand. But it didn't really seem to work out in any kind of way. It does attach on, but not in a really nice kind of way. But then again, the Calibar never actually did hold on to this weapon. So getting the Calibarn into the bit-on form is exactly the same as what we would have seen with the high-grade variant. Basically, you take the escutcheon, split it up into all of its elements. There is nothing really holding this together. The only thing you're going to be getting rid of here is a handle, and these are all the pieces. Then they attach onto various parts on the actual robot itself. That is up in the thrusters, down in the butt flap. These felt like they weren't actually going to work out, but they work out perfect in a weird kind of way. Then we've got the shoulder ones, the forearm parts, as well as the parts that attach onto the hips, and finally one onto the butt flap. So this is what the Calibarn looks like with the bit on form, and it's looking incredibly fantastic. And finally, we might as well get the variable rod rifle attached on too, in order to finish off the job. So last up, getting the Calibarn here into the air where it should be, I'm just going to be using what I normally use here, and that is the Simple Stand by Good Smile Company. So any kind of general action figure stand with a 3mm peg should get the job done, and that is what it looks like up in the air. The feet, of course, they can be shifted into that high speed mode by moving these aspects down just like that. There we go, just like that. Now, you won't be getting mad poses out of this particular kit right here, but it does look quite fun once it is all loaded up with all of that equipment. There, that looks a little bit better. Anyway, speaking of mad poses, let's test out the articulation. Wait a minute, I just realized it's got beam saber handles up on the back here that can actually be removed, but no beams for using with them. That's an odd choice. Do they even fit in the hand? Yeah, they do. What? Seriously, some beams, please. So finally onto the articulation, and usually this is something with an SD I probably wouldn't even do, but funnily enough with this kit it is worth doing. This is a solid little kit out of box, so no issues so far. However, when you do move some of the body parts, I do find that the seam lines in the forearms and maybe the legs, mainly the forearms though, tend to open up a little bit, so you have to squeeze them back together. But there are a couple of things worth mentioning. Like I mentioned already, there is no twist to these. What the absolute hell? Suddenly now there's twist to these upper legs. Something must have come loose in the right sort of way. Unless there's a locking mechanism pushed in. Oh, there is. There is a locking mechanism. Push them in, they cannot move. Pull them out, and they most certainly can. And rotate. Oh, okay, that is worth noting. I almost missed that. Speaking of locking mechanisms, in the waist here all we have is side to side. This is also a locking mechanism. Unlock it like so, and you've got yourself a little bit of an ab crunch. Now, I will mention, this is too weak to hold the equipment, so it does kind of flop back when the... Actually, yeah, it just kind of flops in general, just like so. To the back, to the front, just like that. So that's obviously why there is a locking mechanism. You could tighten that up yourself, but it does mean you can get some little bit more out of this kit when you're actually moving it. So that's impressive. I will also mention that the neck is nice too. The way it can look all the way up like this and all the way down like that is pretty good. Overall, it's not bad, to be blatantly honest. It could be a whole lot worse. You know, it's got bendable arms. It's got some little bendable knees that kind of barely look bent when bent at all, but it does have a little bit to it. Let's get the test pose going. And there we go. Honestly, I will admit, it is not the worst. Considering this is an SD kit, it can still pull off a little bit of a pose. Not really a whole lot, but it still can. But yeah, what can I say? That is it for the review. There really isn't much else to say. Yeah, while I'm actually going to summarize this a little bit, I'm going to stick what I like to do, and that is the head of an SD onto a HG. But anyway, overall, it's a very, very nice SD kit. As far as SD kits go, it is great. It looks fantastic. You've got two choices between permit score 5 and permit score 8. Or no permit at all by putting no stickers, but that wouldn't be as effective. Accessories wise, everything is pretty much in here, the escutcheon and the rod rifle, and they look the way they need to and work perfectly in an SD kind of way. When it comes to the articulation, it's not going to blow your mind, but for an SD it is impressive nonetheless. Overall, this is nice. For an SD cross silhouette, which are usually good, this is somewhat even better, and I highly recommend it. If you do want one of your own, I got mine through HobbyLink. As always, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to come back for more Gunpla reviews, and I'll see you next time. As always, I can't finish this video without special thanks to those who support the channel on the memberships as well as over on Patreon, including Abraxas, Caleb Engelhart, Joe, Orgy59061, Shadowwolf179, 10 Soldier YT, and Van Fawn.